If people knew how much money you actually had, your life would get harder, not easier. More expectations, more pressure, more people asking for things. That's why the smartest people don't just build wealth, they hide it. You ever notice something strange? The people who are actually wealthy don't look wealthy at all. No flashy cars, no income flexing, no "I made it" posts. Meanwhile, the ones who look rich are often just surviving behind the scenes. So here's the uncomfortable truth. Most people aren't poor because they don't earn enough. They're poor because they leak money everywhere. And the more they try to prove they're doing well, the worse it gets. Welcome back to my channel. I'm Glowloam. In this video, I'm not going to give you a long list of tips you'll forget tomorrow. Instead, I'll show you 5 uncomfortable wealth truths, 5 shifts in how you think about money that quietly separate people who stay stuck from people who actually build real wealth. Because once you see these clearly, you stop chasing money the wrong way, and you start keeping it, growing it, and protecting it without anyone noticing. Now, here's where most people get it completely wrong. They think the solution is to make more money, work harder, get promoted, start a side hustle, maybe even chase that one big break that's supposed to fix everything. And sure, income matters. I'm not saying it doesn't, but if making more money automatically made you rich, then every high earner would be wealthy, and we both know that's not true. There are people making 6 figures who are constantly stressed, living paycheck to paycheck, just at a higher level. Bigger apartment, nicer car, more expensive habits, but the exact same problem underneath. Because income doesn't fix a broken system, it amplifies it. If your life leaks money at $3,000 a month, it will leak even faster at $10,000 a month. And this is the part nobody tells you. Wealth isn't built in big moments. It's not that one promotion, that one investment, or that one lucky break. It's built in small, almost invisible decisions, repeated over and over again. It's how you handle your money on a random Tuesday. It's what happens in the first 24 hours after your paycheck hits. It's the choices you make when nobody's watching and nobody's impressed. That's why the people who actually build wealth don't rely on motivation, because motivation comes and goes. They rely on systems, not discipline, structure, not intensity, consistency. And once you understand that shift, everything changes. Because you stop asking, how do I make more money? And you start asking the question that actually matters. How do I stop leaking the money I already make and turn it into something that grows? And that's exactly what these 5 wealth truths are designed to help you do. Most people think they have an income problem. They don't. They have a leakage problem because it's not the big purchases that keep you broke. It's not the one-time splurge, the vacation, or even the expensive mistake. It's the small, invisible leaks that happen every single day. Subscriptions you forgot about, convenience spending. It's just a little decisions that don't feel important in the moment, but stack up quietly over time. And that's exactly why they're dangerous, because you don't notice them. Nobody wakes up and says, today I'm going to destroy my financial future. What actually happens is much quieter. You spend a little more than you planned. You justify something small. You tell yourself it doesn't matter. And you repeat that pattern again and again until your entire income is gone and you're not even sure where it went. That's leakage. And here's the uncomfortable part. Making more money doesn't fix it. It makes it worse. Because if your system leaks at a lower income, it will leak faster at a higher one. You don't suddenly become disciplined just because you earn more. You just get more room to be careless. So the real question isn't, how do I earn more? It's, where's my money quietly disappearing? And once you start looking, you'll realize something most people never want to admit. You're not losing money in obvious ways. You're losing it in ways that feel normal. That daily coffee, that extra delivery, that subscription you barely use, that "I'll think about it later" purchase. Individually, they seem harmless. Together, they're a system that drains your future. And the worst part? You built that system yourself. But the good news is, you can redesign it. This is where wealthy people do something very different. They don't try to control every spending decision. They change the system so the leaks don't happen in the first place. They automate saving before spending. They reduce unnecessary recurring costs. They create friction for impulse purchases. And most importantly, they stop trusting themselves to figure it out later, because later never comes. So here's the shift you need to make. Stop focusing on earning more and start focusing on stopping the leaks. Because you don't need a completely new life to build wealth. You need a system that stops quietly destroying the one you already have. This is one of the most dangerous habits people have. And the worst part is, it feels completely justified. You had a long day, so you deserve something nice. You finished a project, so you earned a reward. You got a raise, so it's finally time to upgrade your life. None of this feels irresponsible. In fact, it feels like self-care. But what you're actually doing is much more damaging. You are training your brain to associate progress with spending. Every time you move forward, you celebrate by going backwards financially. And if you repeat that pattern long enough, something strange happens. You stop benefiting from your own progress, because the better you do, the more expensive your life becomes. That's the trap. Your income goes up, your spending goes up, your effort increases, your expenses follow, and eventually, no matter how much you earn, it never feels like enough. Not because you're not making progress, but because you built a system where progress automatically cancels itself out. So let's say it more directly. If every win in your life comes with a new expense, then your wins are not making you richer. They are making you harder to sustain. And this is where most people get stuck. They think they're improving their life, but what they're really doing is upgrading their lifestyle faster than they're building their wealth. It looks like success on the outside, but internally, nothing has changed. Still dependent, still pressured, still one mistake away from stress. Now compare that to how wealthy people think. When something goes well, they don't immediately ask, "What can I buy?" They ask, "How do I lock this in?" They don't convert progress into consumption. They convert it into something that continues to grow, because they understand a simple truth. A reward that disappears isn't a reward. It's just something that felt good for a moment and left you exactly where you started. So the shift you need to make is uncomfortable, but powerful. Stop using spending as a reward. Stop turning progress into expenses and start doing something most people never learn. Reward yourself by keeping the progress, not consuming it. Because the goal isn't to feel rich for a few minutes. The goal is to become rich in a way that actually lasts. This is the part most people don't want to hear. Your lifestyle isn't neutral. It's not just a reflection of your taste, your personality, or your success. It's a system. And for most people, it's a system perfectly designed to keep them broke. Look at how your life is structured. Monthly rent or mortgage, car payments, subscriptions, upgrades, habits that slowly became normal. None of these feel extreme on their own. In fact, they all feel reasonable, but together they form something much more dangerous, a fixed structure that quietly consumes your entire income. And once that structure is in place, something changes. You're no longer working to build wealth. You're working to maintain your life. That's the shift that traps people. Because now your job isn't creating freedom, it's feeding a system that requires you to keep earning at the same level or higher just to stay where you are. You don't have flexibility. You don't have breathing room. You have obligations, and obligations don't make you rich. They make you dependent. Here's the uncomfortable truth. A lot of what people call success is just higher monthly expenses. A better apartment, a nicer car, more convenience, more comfort, but also more pressure, more risk, and less freedom. You didn't escape the system. You upgraded into a more expensive version of it. And the worst part? Most people don't even question it because it looks normal. Everyone around them is doing the same thing. Same upgrades, same payments, same quiet pressure. But normal doesn't mean it works. Wealthy people think about this very differently. They don't just ask, can I afford this? They ask, what will this lock me into? Because every fixed expense is a commitment to your future income. Every payment you add is a piece of your future time already spent. So instead of building a lifestyle that expands with their income, they do something much harder. They build a lifestyle that stays below it. They keep their fixed costs low. They delay upgrades. They choose flexibility over appearance because they understand something most people ignore. The less your life costs to maintain, the easier it is to become free. So the real question isn't, how do I live better? It's, how much does my life cost me every single month? And is that cost trapping me? Because if your lifestyle requires all of your income to survive, then no matter how much you earn, you're not free. You're just well paid, but stuck. Most people think privacy around money is just a personality choice. Either you're open about it or you're not. But what they don't realize is this: privacy isn't just a preference, it's a strategy. Because the moment people know you have money, your money stops being just yours. It turns into expectations. People start treating you differently. Not always in obvious ways, but in subtle shifts. You're the one who can afford more, the one who should contribute more, the one who can help, lend, or cover things. And even if nobody says it directly, you feel it. The pressure builds quietly, and here's where it gets worse. Once people think you're doing well financially, you don't just carry your own life, you start carrying other people's assumptions about your life. What you should do, what you should spend, what you should be able to handle. And now your financial decisions are no longer just about you. They're about perception. This is why wealthy people don't just build money, they protect it socially. They don't broadcast wins. They don't reveal numbers. They don't create a narrative that invites attention. Not because they're secretive, but because they understand something most people miss. Visibility creates pressure. Pressure creates spending, and spending destroys freedom. So instead of proving they're successful, they remove the need to prove anything at all. They stay deliberately vague. They talk about ideas, not numbers. They share lessons, not results. And that creates something incredibly valuable: control. Because when nobody knows exactly what you have, nobody can decide what you should do with it. And that gives you something most people never experience: financial decisions made purely on your own terms. Now, here's the real shift. It's not just about what you don't say, it's about what you don't invite. Every time you post, show, or signal your lifestyle, you're sending a message. And that message doesn't just reflect your life, it shapes it. It creates expectations you now feel responsible to maintain. So the more visible your money becomes, the less flexible your life becomes. And the less flexible your life becomes, the harder it is to build real wealth. So the smartest move isn't just to make money, it's to make sure your money doesn't come with noise, pressure, or attention attached to it. Because real wealth doesn't need to be seen, it needs to be protected. Here's the final shift, and it ties everything together. Most people think wealth should be visible, that if you're doing well, it should show. Better car, better home, better lifestyle. Something that proves you're moving forward. Something that tells the world you made it. But real wealth doesn't work like that. Real wealth grows quietly. It doesn't need to be announced. It doesn't need to be displayed. And most of the time, it doesn't even look like progress from the outside. Because while most people are upgrading what others can see, wealthy people are upgrading what others can't. Their investments, their ownership, their future. And that difference changes everything. Because visible upgrades feel good immediately, but they stop there. They give you a moment of satisfaction, and then they're done. Invisible growth is the opposite. It feels slow, sometimes even frustrating, but over time it compounds into something most people never reach. That's why so many people get stuck. They chase the feeling of progress instead of actual progress. They upgrade their life, but they don't upgrade their position. And eventually, they run out of room. Now compare that to someone who builds in silence. No constant upgrades, no need to prove anything, no pressure to keep up. Just consistent, quiet decisions that stack over time. From the outside, nothing looks dramatic, but underneath, everything is changing. Because while others are spending to look successful, they're building something that doesn't need to be seen to be real. And this is the part most people miss. The goal isn't to look rich. The goal isn't to feel rich. The goal is to become rich in a way that gives you options. The option to say no. The option to walk away. The option to not worry. And those options don't come from upgrades. They come from accumulation. So if you take one thing from this video, let it be this. Stop trying to show progress. Start building it. Because in the end, the people who win financially aren't the ones who look the most successful. They're the ones who needed to prove it the least.